When someone speaks and someone listens, some unique dynamic things can happen. One, transformation. Transformation of the person who listens by ideas that might come at a timely time. Suddenly the lights go on, you're never the same again. But also you can be transformed by being the one who teaches, not the one who listens. That can certainly happen, but the one who teaches. If you struggle hard to make it clear for someone else, it makes it more clear for you. The English language is rather clumsy sometimes when they try to express what's going on in our head, let alone our heart. But if we choose the best words we can, and if we're sincere, and that's the underwriting theme of lecturing, trying to get an idea across to someone, whether it's one person of one or an audience of 1,000, is first of all sincerity. However, here's a good note to make. Sincerity is not a test of truth. We must not make the mistake of saying, he must be right, he's so sincere. See, that could be a mistake. Because it's possible to be sincerely wrong. So we don't judge truth by sincerity. You can only judge truth by truth. The old prophet said this: words are like a lamp for your feet, so you can see where to walk. And words are like a light for your pathway, so you can see where to go. With words, you can show somebody where to step and where to go. Wow. I said a little prayer before I left my hotel room this morning and asked God to give me a little stronger gift of words today, so that my words might have meaning. Maybe I've caught you at just the right time. Maybe this is the moment for you. And if I can say something uniquely enough, using the English language best as I can, words are sometimes clumsy when you try to express what's going on in your head, let alone your heart. But if I can do as good a job as I possibly can in the session we've got this morning and then again this afternoon, by the time I'm finished, maybe my words will help turn on another light for you. And you'll be able to see the possibilities better than you've ever seen it before. You'll be able to see yourself more successful than you've ever envisioned it before. If I can wisely say good words. Words are like lights. It's like another light. The gift of language is so powerful, it's worth the exercise. It's worth the effort. What if it's very limited? Then your ability to express what you think, express how you feel, is limited. So by a very restricted vocabulary, if you can't understand very well, and if you can't express very well, then your world becomes very, very small, and you only need a place 8 by 10 to live. So jot this down. Make one of the books a very important book, and that is the dictionary. Come to a word you don't understand, you look it up. Say, what is this word? Vocabulary. You need the practice. Practice everywhere. If you're going to give someone a gift and send a little card, practice making this little card something they'll keep and remember for the rest of their lives. Not ordinary, extraordinary. Not like everyone else, different than everyone else. It's the practice of using your gift of saying things another way until a light turns on, another way that expresses something heartfelt that the standard ordinary language wouldn't express, couldn't reach, couldn't paint these mental pictures. It's okay to give flowers, but don't let flowers do all your talking. Flowers have a limited vocabulary. Guess what flowers say? You remembered. That's about all they say. Flowers don't say, nobody in this world affects me like you do. Love. See, flowers talk, but they don't say that. That you got to put in the little card. Nobody in this world affects me like you do. Love. And then you sign it. And see, long after the flowers are gone, somebody's going to keep the words. The words are more powerful than the flowers. So don't let flowers do all your talking. See if you can't choose the words that are meaningful, words that are unique. And the more you do this, practicing every little occasion to say something well, every little occasion to say something well, whether it's a little talk to the family gathering, or whether it's training, or whether it's inspiring, or a little class on Sunday morning, whatever it is, keep improving, find a new way to say it, a new illustration, a new story. You'll get better. The gift will belong to you, and the effect could be electrifying. Don't fail to say it. Now, women are better at this really than men. Women seem to be able to find the language much easier to say something. Men have to work at it a little harder. Now, I've put communication in 3 parts because all 3 of these parts now help me make more fortunes. Here's the first one. It's called training. Training is simply showing somebody how to do the business, how to do the job. If you get good at that, the pay is incredible, whether it's your own enterprise or whether you work for someone else. Training pays big money. Here's the next one, teaching. And I've divided the 2 just to make the point. Teaching is more teaching life skills. Teach somebody how to set goals. Teaching leadership. Teaching management. Teaching how to become powerful, gifted, influential. Teaching father skills, mother skills. I've now, the last 15 years, learned grandfather skills. I set a goal when I became a grandfather to be one of the best grandfathers any grandchildren ever had in the whole wide world. I practice it. I think about it. How to use my newfound life as a grandfather and learn every skill possible to dazzle my grandchildren. So teach people how to be good fathers, good grandfathers, good mothers, good leaders in the community. Teach a minister how to teach. Teach a minister how to use the gift of language to persuade. So communication is part of its training, part of its teaching. Here's the best part now in the gift of language, and that's learning how to inspire. Inspire simply means a few simple things. Here's number 1. Help people to see themselves better than they are. Yes, sometimes we have to help people see themselves as they are. If they've made mistakes, maybe that needs to be pointed out. If a child has messed up, sometimes you've got to say, you've messed up. But don't leave them in the mess. Now transport them into the future with the gift of your language and inspire them with the person they can become by using the mistakes of the past to develop new disciplines for the future. You must transport your children into the future. Yes, you have to take them back to review their mistakes, but don't leave them there. Now transport them into tomorrow. Transport your children into next week. Help them to see themselves 30 days from now, 90 days from now, 6 months from now. Help them to see themselves successful. It's your gift of language that can do that. Help them to have faith for themselves and faith for the future. The sacred writing says this: faith comes by hearing words, good words. Somebody who well chooses their words and delivers them with uniqueness can inspire faith for somebody to believe the most impossible things can be possible. And that excitement of possibilities comes from hearing or reading unique words. Here's an expression we've heard. Words are no substitute for action. That's true. Let me give you another one. Action is no substitute for words. It's okay to do, but you've also got to say. Express it, as clumsy as it might be to start. Start a better program of better communication, saying it better. Intensity is the emotional part of communication. Communication is both words and emotion. Here's what's really powerful. Words loaded with emotion. See, that's what's unbelievably powerful. It can move nations. It can help people change directions. It can establish an ideology. for good or for bad. Look at Hitler and his ability to preach. Look at Stalin and his ability to preach. Lenin, as wrong as they were, they believed it with all of their heart. Disastrous results, but they put everything they had into it. The emotional content was unbelievable. Powerful, yes, in an evil direction, but it can also be used for a good direction. This intensity, strength, power, emotion. Words are words. Words are like a little straight pin, right? A guy buys a shirt and it's got all these little pins in it, little straight pins that you got to take out. What if I took one of those straight pins and I threw it at you and it hit you in the face or the hand? You'd feel it. That's my words that got you, the little straight pin. But what if I took that little straight pin and wired it to the end of an iron bar about this long? And then I let you have it. See, I could drive the pin through your heart. The iron bar is the emotion. The pin is the words. Now, here's the craft. And conversation is a craft. Don't get lazy in learning this craft, because it'll serve you so well at home. It'll serve you so well in the marketplace. It'll serve you so well in your career and making your fortune. This craft of communication. Here's the combination. Well-chosen words mixed with measured emotion. Not only do the words have to be well-chosen, the emotion has to be well-measured. Meaning, not too much power for a minor point. It can be so powerful if it's measured well. See, if you had a powerful point and a little bit of emotion, that wouldn't make sense. Nobody would get it. Nobody would say, well, for such a powerful point, it's not a very strong emotion. So then you can't come on too strong with some minor point. You know, sometimes kids have a legitimate objection. They say, you're making too big a deal. And sometimes parents have a tendency to do that, to make a big deal out of a little bitty deal. So here's the key. Make a big deal out of a big deal, and then smaller emotional content on a little minor deal. That's an art. That's a craft. When you go fishing, what do they say? Don't pull too hard, you'll lose the fish. Don't give them too much line. They'll get away. So it's called pull, 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 easy, easy, pull, pull, easy, easy, pull, easy. That's like communication. Strong, but not too strong. Adjust your style to fit the occasion and the emotional content so that it works, so that it makes sense. That when you burst on the scene, it's called for. The point is called for, that much emotion. This is a craft. Don't get lazy here. And the reason I ask you not to get lazy here is because the payoff is so great. Whether it's working on the job or advancing your career or at home with your family or communicating with your spouse. Whatever it is, craft your communications. Be a little more aware. Somebody says you ought, you ought, you ought. Jot this down. Ignore all the you oughts or you should. Only if they're giving general information. We should. It's better to say if you're teaching we should. Not you should, we should. Then you let me listen in without it being too confrontational. If everyone did this, see, that'd be great. And then you give a person a chance to choose to do it or not to do it. But when you start the you ought, now see if I don't, now see we got some tension and maybe some problems. So you oughts seem to always create problems. When you're talking to your kids, you say, no, if kids would do this, not always saying, if you did this, life would be better. But if kids did this, life would be better. It's like making a little talk and letting them listen in. And then it's a little less confrontational. Here's the next one now that's really challenging, but it really works. And that is read your audience. Whether it's an audience of a child or an audience of a training class, or whether you're a minister and you preach. Here's what you've got to do. Say something well, but then read the effect you're having. In those early days, I had to quickly read, should I keep going or should I quit? I would go through my notes and I wouldn't look up. I wouldn't look up. I would just go through my notes and go through my notes. Some of those early classes, I think everybody could have left and I'd have just kept on going right through my notes. Then finally, I learned to start looking up to see if it's okay. Should I slow down? Should I speed up? Am I coming on a little too strong? Should I get a little softer? This is what reading is all about. If you're talking to a child, should you really pour it on or should you hesitate? Should you save this for another time or do it now? Some of that you've got to pick up by reading the child. Read what's happening to your audience of 1 or 1,000. This is a challenge, but it'll help you in framing better the words you need to say and the style you need to use. Now, in reading, there's 3 things. Jot these down. 3 things in reading your audience. First, you read what you see. Salespeople soon learn. If the customer's got his arms folded and his chin tucked down and he's frowning, this one ain't gonna be easy. Right? This one's gonna take all my skill to get his arms unfolded, make him a little more comfortable, get that frown off of his face. What can I do? I got to reach in my bag for some good stuff, right? To see if I can't sort of change the situation. And what causes us now to do those amendments in our presentation? It's reading someone's body language, right? What's happening? Here's the next one. You've got to read what you hear. If it's a two-way conversation, you've got to listen as well as talk. Mama said 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk at least, maybe more. Listen so that you can now know how to proceed, especially if you're talking to a child. You listen so that you know how to proceed. No use going on and on if just a couple of things will do, and by listening you pick that up, by listening. Here's the next one. You got to pick up the emotional signals, how you feel, whether you're coming on too strong, whether you should be stronger or easier this time. That's an art in reading. First, what you see. Second, what you hear. Third, read how you feel. Now, this is where women really have it made. Being able to feel, sense. Woman says, it doesn't feel right. Man says, what does that mean? Doesn't feel right. And they pick it up. Men can learn better on how to pick up these emotional signals, but women seem to have it, right? They're tuned in. It's built in. Because there's no use going on and on. If the signal should have told you, wow, this is not the time. This is too strong. Picking up not only what you see and what you hear, but what you feel. One of the best phrases I could give you for the day, here it is. Don't be lazy in language. Don't be lazy in language, because the gift of language can create a career. It can help somebody see the way into the future. It can help somebody change from who they are to who they would like to be. It will help you to see the gift of your own intellect. There's an innate vocabulary in all of us that helps us to see, helps us to translate what's going on in the world, what's happening, so that we can make good decisions instead of poor ones. We can make less mistakes this year than we made last year. One of the major things to pray for is to be gifted in language, because it can have such a dynamic effect on your children. It can have such a dynamic effect on your business. It can have such a dynamic effect on your customers. It can have such a dynamic effect on your business partners, that not to continually get better and better at the gift of language would be a great mistake.